What's going on, guys? This is Empty Box, and today we're going to be talking about rFactor 2. This is actually the follow-up video to the part 1 of this video, essentially, where I talk about the Studio 397 takeover of rFactor 2's future development ongoing. So if you haven't heard that news, which came out about a week ago, go ahead and look down in the description, probably watch that video first, that way you have a background knowledge. Otherwise, what this video is going to be about are the top 5 things I would like to see Studio 397 address for their future vision of rFactor 2, because I believe that these are critical flaws in where rFactor 2 is currently and why it has gone the way it has gone for the last 4.5 years. So the first thing that Studio 397 needs to take steps to address is the multiplayer licensing of rFactor 2, otherwise known as it needs to go away. Kill it with fire, run away, pretend it never even happened, and let's move on. Okay, the $15 per year fee, or alternatively the $40 lifetime fee, was a good idea on paper to continue bringing money into rFactor 2 to continue ongoing development of a long-term project. However, you end up with this situation where you have split the community that was already very small around your game anyways, because of the fact it's a niche title, because of the fact that there's no marketing, because there's no marketing and no money, as well as the fact that it has the flaws that it has that are particularly off-putting for a large group of people. So you end up with a small segment of people who are actually playing the game online, on top of the fact that because there are so few people playing the game, it makes it even less appealing, which means that it just makes the whole feature less important. It devalues the features of the game. Locking the features behind a paywall is never, ever a good idea, and Studio 397 needs to take steps to address this. So yes, I am indeed advocating for paid content DLC for rFactor 2. However, let me just make one thing clear. Studio 397, if you happen to end up watching this video, there's one big thing you must do if that is ever going to be a successful approach. Sadly, not all games in this genre have taken this step. I think you guys know which game I'm looking at here. You must never have to purchase DLC to race against DLC. Don't do that. So next up, the graphics. Okay, this is something that they've already said that they're going to be working on, so I probably won't spend too much time on this, but first of all, it needs to look better than what it does currently. There's a couple of things that specifically I'm going to talk about, but first of all, the engine needs to run well, it needs to be optimized well, it needs to run as well as what it looks like. If it looks like crap, well, it better run really good. If it looks fantastically, okay, then it can run like crap. Okay, you can't have a game that looks like crap and runs like crap, which is sadly what rFactor 2 has largely been over the last few years. And plus, I will say this, there's no guarantee that DirectX 11 is going to make everything look absolutely amazingness. For example, take a look at iRacing, where the difference between DirectX 9 and DirectX 11 is largely a huge performance increase in favor of DirectX 11, otherwise it looks exactly the same. They're going to be adding the effects later, so who knows how that's going to play out. So, keep that in mind. Anyways, there are 3 big things I would like to see Studio 397 address with the graphics engine that I'm most interested in. First of all, the long-range distant shadows. They need to be improved. This is something of a ISI legacy issue, and it's really freaking annoying and really freaking immersion breaking. Okay, shadows in the distance just flat out vanish. And you end up with this situation where you have this rolling shadow being cast in front of you where there's no shadow, then all of a sudden as your car's traveling, suddenly the shadow starts rendering. Or you see cars, for example, the TV cameras at Silverstone, when the cars are turning on to hangar straight, they have no shadows underneath them and then they pop in. And it's just like, my immersion is gone, okay? And it looks terrible. So that is one of the biggest things that they need to fix, in my opinion, because it just, oh my god, it grinds my gears so much. Anyways, second of all, night racing. The night lighting has to be significantly improved. For the features that rFactor 2 has, largely being so fantastic in an endurance racing scenario, it makes no sense that the lighting system is so terrible and so garbage, as well as so performance impacting in this game. Okay, what's up with this? You can only have like 6 cars with headlights actually being cast out in front of them. What's up with this, popping in and popping out of which cars have headlights on? What's up with this, thing going on where it's essentially like you're sitting in a car and there's always a truck behind you at the stoplight, driving at night, and you got all the light in your cockpit, even though you're in a mid-engine car that has a firewall behind you, and there should theoretically be very, very little light actually coming into the cockpit. Instead, you get like spotlight. Like, why? Okay? Again, immersion braking, it looks terrible, as well as the fact that car headlights don't cast any car shadows at all. Again, goodbye immersion. Nice seeing ya. Didn't really need you anyways, apparently. As well as, finally, thing number 3, the weather effects need to be improved. Okay? A weather system is absolutely useless if the weather effects visuals aren't there. What is racing in the rain if it isn't actually looking like it's raining? It's just racing on a skating rink. Okay? You gotta have the rain spray. It has to look good. You gotta have the raindrops. You gotta have the windshield wipers. You know, at least you gotta have 2 of the 3, not none of the 3. So, those are the 3 big things graphically I'm looking at for them to really make improvements. Notice how I didn't just say, oh yeah, make the game look pretty. Yeah. Anyways, moving on. Studio 397 has already said that they're really planning on making more cars and tracks and being able to do that faster, upping the pace of the content. However, that's not going to matter if they continue on the same path that ISI had continued on, which is there is no experience in rFactor 2. It is a bunch of random mishmash content just for content purposes. It needs to make sense. Yeah, I don't care what they end up doing, be it, you know, placing a huge emphasis on the historic racing or the modern racing or the endurance racing or the historic modern racing, endurance racing, who knows, whatever you come up with. Just do something. Just do something to make the game have an experience to draw people in. Stop worrying about the idea of, oh, we got to have an example of everything because modding platform, and make the game a game that can be modded. That's how it's worked in the past for a lot of really successful games that are still going and still have more active communities than what rFactor 2 has had. Looking at you, Grand Prix Legends. And yes, I realize there is a whole host of difference between a nearly 20-year-old game and a 4.5-year-old game with a very advanced physics model, but you understand my point, hopefully, that this idea just does not work. Just make the game, bring the people in, and then they will take the wheel from there, essentially. This brings me to number 4 on my list. Single-player championship mode. Okay? Now, I'm not a huge single-player championship season guy. I do mostly single races, so for me, this isn't a huge deal. However, I just look at this from a standpoint of, why is this not in the game? This is something that should very well be in the game, because the AI in rFactor 2 has been something that is fantastic. It is one of the best, if not the best, available on the market right now. Why are you not taking full utilization of that feature, especially when you have so many features to make it a good offline racing experience? It seems absolutely stupid that this is not in the game currently. And last but not least, some general weather system overhauls. Okay, this is something that is a big feature in rFactor 2. It's a big selling point over other titles in the sim racing market. So I don't see any reason why they shouldn't work on it to make that feature more impressive. First of all, I'd like to see the ability to import weather from the real world. This is something that is available in Project Cars, some of you guys might be familiar with. There's also a plugin for rFactor 2 that does the same thing. However, why not build it into the game straight up in the menu system, officially, there for everyone? Nice little feature rather than having to go and get a third-party plug-in and all the shenaniganry there. But also, I'd like to see the ability to have a random weather pattern generated, or alternatively, weather presets within the game, so that way you're not having to set up the weather for each individual race, each individual session and all that, because, well, quite frankly, it ruins the fun of the weather system anyways when you're like halfway into the race and you're like, oh yeah, I remember, I said it to be like 50-60% chance of heavy rain right about now. Oh yeah, it's gonna rain, I remember that. You know, that type of thing. You know, it just kind of ruins the fun. It takes a little bit of the fun off of it, as well as the immersion and the silliness, shenanigans. But track wetting and drying improvements, this needs to be something that is looked at and worked on to get the track to dry in a proper fashion in a reasonable amount of time. Wind, which is also sort of tied into that as well. I would like to see that finally enabled. That's something that is especially important for oval racing as well, which if you're going to try and do that, you should probably work on the big thing that is important in oval racing. all about that gust of wind. But anyways, besides that, the weather graphical improvements and all that I already kind of mentioned, that's what I'd really like to see. So those are the 5 big things I'm looking forward to see if Studio 397 is going to address with their vision of rFactor 2. There's a lot of work left. There's a lot of work left indeed. I think they could hopefully maybe end up salvaging this, but we'll see. It's gonna be exciting. Hold on to your butts. Here we go. Hope you guys enjoyed. Bye.